All right, welcome back, and today we're going to be dealing with trigonometry. It's KZN June 2024. So let's begin. On question 2, we're given the coordinates of B. However, the x coordinate is unknown. We only know that y coordinate is 5. And we are told that B is a point that lies on the Cartesian plane. B is on this Cartesian plane. It is given that line OB is equal to 13 units. These are the 13 units. And B angle OX is equal to theta. B angle OX is equal to theta. Now, using the diagram and without the use of a calculator, very, very important, they've emphasized that we must use this diagram, one, and without the use of a calculator, meaning to say that if you use this thing, then everything will be marked incorrect, right? Determine the value of x. We must determine the value of x, the coordinate of what? B, right? So in this particular case, what we do first is to observe that here this 5 is y, and if we do this, right, if we join, it means that here we've got 5, which is positive, right? And then this x here, the value which we're going to get here, it starts from the point of origin going to the left, which means that the value should be a negative value, right? So we are going to use our Pythagoras theorem to solve for x. Why? Because we've been provided with two sides, and if you're looking for the third side, you use the Pythagoras theorem, since here there is 90 degrees. So now, if we come to the Pythagoras theorem, remember, what does the Pythagoras theorem state? It states that hypotenuse squared is equal to opposite squared plus adjacent squared. Our hypotenuse in this case, we've been given that it is 13, so 13 squared is equal to, and then from this angle here towards 5, this is opposite, so our opposite is equal to 5. So we write that 5 squared plus adjacent is the one which is unknown, so we write x. Remember, they gave us the letter x, so we say x squared, right? Then 13 squared is equal to 169, so we say 169 is equal to 5 squared is equal to 25 plus x squared here. Now I'm going to transpose 25, it becomes a negative, so 169 minus 25 is equals to x squared. 169 minus 25 is equals to 144. So I've got 144, which is equal to x squared. Now I'm looking for x, I'm not looking for x squared. So now, for me to get rid of this squared, I must say square root. And on the other side, I will say square root. Now, remember, I will say plus or minus. Why am I saying plus or minus? Because depending on the quadrant, in this particular case, we're in quadrant 2 and the x happens to be a negative. So which means that the answer that we're going to get here will say negative. If you don't determine whether it's positive or negative and you just write a positive answer, and then it happens that the answer which you're calculating for is in a negative quadrant, then it will be marked incorrect. So it's very important that you pay attention as to in which quadrant does the value that you're looking for lie, and is it positive or negative. Moving forward, we can conclude that therefore x is equal to, and since we know it's quadrant 2 and x in that quadrant is negative, we now say negative square root of 144 is 12. So our x is equals to negative 12. So here on this particular diagram, so here is x is equals to negative 12, and we are now saying that on our diagram here, our x is equal to negative 12. So now, let's see. They said that determine the value of x. That was the first question, and it had 2 marks. We are done. We found our x, that it is equals to negative 12. Done. Now, they said that for 1 mark, determine cos theta. Now, from this angle here, cos theta says what? Cos theta says adjacent of hypotenuse. This is our adjacent, this is our hypotenuse. So to answer that question, we say cos theta is equal to negative 12 over 13. Negative 12 is the adjacent and 13 is the hypotenuse. And we get our 1 mark. Done. And then now on question 2.1.3, they say 12 sin theta divided by cos theta. Meaning to say that, what is our sin theta? Let's see. This is opposite here, and we've got 5, and our hypotenuse is 13. So in other words, when they've said sin theta, 12 sin theta, we are now coming here and we say that 12 multiplied by, where there was sin theta, now we place what? 5 over 13. And then they said divided by cos theta. So now I'm going to use this type of division so that I may not be confused. What was my cos theta? Remember, I found that cos theta was negative 12 over 13, like that. This is how I must calculate it. And remember how many marks are allocated? 2 marks. Now what am I going to do? Now I'm going to say 12 multiplied by 5, which gives me 60. So I've got 60 over 13. And now I'm going to use my KCF method, whereby now I'm going to keep this fraction, but I will change the sign. It was a division, so I now use multiplication. And I'm going to flip this sign. The denominator becomes the numerator, so 13. The numerator becomes the denominator, 12. And I still have got my negative, right? But let me write it properly, because the negative is not seen. It's not legible. So negative, then I've got 13 over 12. Now observe, remember that here we're having a multiplication sign. So this 13 cancels out with that 13, which means we're left with negative 1. So we say is equal to. Now we say positive times negative, which gives us a negative, and 60 multiplied by 1 is equals to 60 divided by 12. And if you say negative 60 divided by 12, you will get 5. But the 5 is what? Negative, because negative divided by positive, it's a negative. So negative 5 is the final answer. Then you get your 2 marks for this. Simple and straightforward. Then we go to the next question, which is now question 2.2. And on question 2.2, what is demanded? On question 2.2, it is said that given that x is equals to 20 degrees and y is equals to 21 degrees, calculate the value of the following, correct to 2 decimal places. So I must mark this part, correct to 2 decimal places, which means that I can use a calculator for this question. Right? So now they say cos 2y. What is cos 2y? So now I come here and I say cos 2y, it is cos 2 multiplied by, the value of y is 21 degrees, multiplied by 21 degrees is equal to. Then I take my calculator, because it is 1 mark, I just now say cos 2 multiplied by what? Multiplied by 21. Actually, this is 41 degrees. So let me just say cos 41. Cos 41 degrees is equal to 0.7. Remember, they say 2 decimal places. So I look at the third decimal number. It's 4. So 4 is not above 4. So it's 0.75, my final answer. So I now write that is cos 221 is equals to 0.75. Right? I'm done. Then on question 2.2.2, they say sin x plus y, this contains 2 marks. So this entire section had 10 marks. So let me just erase this 10. So now I say sin, open bracket, my x is 20 plus my y is 21, which is equals to sin 41 degrees in other words. So I come here to my calculator. I now say sin, open bracket, 20 plus 21, close bracket, is equal to, I get 0.656. You see it. But my third decimal number is 6, and 6 is above 4, which means I must add here, I must add 1. So my final answer is 0.66. So I come and I write 0.66. That's my final answer. Then on this section, last but not least, I'm now told sec x. Remember, sec x means what? Sec x is the reciprocal ratio of cos. And what is my cos? My cos, I would say that it's adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Now, when I go to sec, what do I say? Sec, I've got 2 variations. I've got hypotenuse over adjacent, or I've got 1 over cos theta. So in this particular case, because they want us we are dealing with degrees, we cannot use this one. This one is used when you are dealing with a side. And since we are dealing with an angle, we're going to use sec x, which is equals to, here, we say now, 1 over cos, and our x is 20 degrees. So 1 over cos 20 degrees is equal to, we now find what is the value of 1 over cos 20 degrees. So we say 1 over cos 20, and then we find the value, it's 1,06. 1,06, because the third decimal number is 4, and it's not above 4, so 1,06 when you round off to 2 decimal places. So 1,06 is the final answer. Then we now go to the last section, which is question 3 with regards to trigonometry. Once again, they are now telling us, without the use of a calculator, very important, calculate the value of. Now here we're told sin squared 45 minus cos 60 degrees plus tan 10 degrees cot multiplied by cot 10 degrees, and it is for 4 marks. Now, what am I going to do? First thing, you are supposed to remember your what? Remember your 2 different triangles of special angles. What are those triangles? Your scalene and your isosceles. How do they look like? So, because I'm required to have sin 45, which means that I'm going to use an isosceles, right? Isosceles triangle, where here I've got 45, and there I've got another 45 degrees, and here I've got 1, there is 1, and here there is square root of 2, right? And then the scalene triangle, whereby, remember, scalene simply means that we've got 3 different unequal angles and 3 unequal sides. So here we say this is 60, there that is 30, and here you've got a right angle, and opposite 30 degrees, you know that it's 1, your hypotenuse is 2, and here you've got square root of 3. So since we've been told that, based on this, our question said sin squared 45. So let me write it here. Sin squared 45 degrees minus cos 60 degrees plus tan 10 degrees and cot 10 degrees. There we go. So now we're going to be using this. So if we come to sin squared 45 degrees, what is my sin? Opposite over hypotenuse. So here I've got what? 1 over square root of 2. But we're told that it's squared, so here I come and I say squared, minus my cos 60 degrees. There is my 60 degrees, and my cos is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So here I've got 1 over 2 plus. Now observe, with your tan 10 degrees, and we've got these 2 triangles of special angles, 10 degrees is not special, cot 10 degrees is not special. But what will we do then? Now, since here we're told tan 10 degrees, I will write tan 10 degrees here. However, we have been told that it must multiply. This cot, remember what happens. When it comes to cot, you have got 2 options with cot. Either you will say adjacent over opposite, or you will say 1 over tan 10 degrees. And since we are not dealing with sides, we are dealing with angles, we are not going to use this version of cot. We are going to use the version of 1 over tan 10 degrees. Please be very much aware of your reciprocal ratios. Practice them, right? So which means that here now I write 1 over what? 1 over tan 10 degrees. And why am I doing that? Because remember, when things are multiplying each other, this 10, actually I can write this tan 10 degrees over 1. This tan 10 degrees and that tan 10 degrees, they are going to cancel out. You understand? So we will get to it. Now here I've got what? I'm going to use my laws of exponents. I've got 1 over square root of 2. So 1 squared gives me 1. So I say is equal to 1 over. And then this square cancels out the square root. So which means I'm left with 2 here. So I've got now 1 over 2 minus 1 over 2. And when it comes to this tan, like I said earlier on, this tan 10 degrees cancels out with that tan 10 degrees, which now means that here I've got what? Plus, right? I've got plus what? 1. 1 times 1 is equals to 1, and 1 times 1 is equals to 1. So I only write a single 1 here. And then when I say 1 minus a half minus a half, that is equals to 0. So which is equals to 0 plus 1. And 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. And just like that, I'm done. I've solved for this particular trig identity that they had given us without using a calculator, and I get my 4 marks. Simple and straightforward, right? All right, let's go to the last question with regards to trigonometry. Now here we are told that solve for x correct to 1 decimal place. This part of 1 decimal place tells me that use a calculator. The use of a calculator is permissible, right? Use a calculator. You are permitted to use a calculator, right? Where 0 degrees is less than or equal to x, and x is less than or equal to 90 degrees. So in other words, what they are telling us here with this boundary is simply telling us that what you are going to calculate for, it's found in quadrant number 1. Because remember, your 0 degrees starts here and your 90 degrees is here, right? And we are told that 0 degrees is a potential answer, 90 degrees is also a potential answer because of this inequality. So now, we're given 1 over 3 sin x is equal to 2, right? And our answer will lie in quadrant number 1. So what we then do, we then come here and we say that, okay, we have got 1 over 3 sin x, which is equal to 2. First thing which I need to get rid of is what? I need to get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to say 3 sin x here multiplied by 1 over 3 sin x is equal to, it is equal to 2. So now this 2 now multiplies with 3 sin x there, like that. Now this 3 sin x cancels out with that 3 sin x. In other words, here now I'm left with 1, which is equals to 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. So I've got 6 sin x. But I mustn't lose the vision that I've been told that I must solve for this x, which is an angle. And that angle is found in quadrant number 1, and 0 and 90 degrees are included as answers. Now, what am I going to do? 6 sin x means that 6 multiplied by sin x. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide by 6 here and I divide by 6 there. 6 into 6, that's 1. 1 times sin x. Now I've got what? Sin x, which is equals to 1 over 6. But we are still solving for x, which means I transpose the sin. So now we've got x is equals to inverse sin 1 over 6. Remember, they said I'm allowed to use the calculator. So I now fetch my calculator and I say that inverse, so my inverse, I press shift and I press sin here. Then I say 1 over 6 and then I find the value. The value is 9,59 and they said to 1 decimal place. So I look at the second decimal number, it's 9. So when I round it up, it becomes 9,6 degrees. So therefore, I conclude my x is equals to 9,6 degrees. And I write this with confidence because 9,6 degrees is found in the first quadrant. And just like that, I get my 3 marks. Simple and straightforward. Now, if you found this video to be very, very helpful, please do consider subscribing, like, comment, and share. I'm going to deal with another past exam paper of trigonometry, which was written in Gauteng, right? You don't want to miss that particular question paper because it has got different scenarios of trig ratios, and it has got also different scenarios with regards to your reciprocal ratios. Very, very tricky stuff, but if you are prepared, nothing will be difficult in an examination. Till we meet next time, cheers.